fallacies, enigmas, building up the people, tearing down stigmas, clothed with a purpose. When life tries to wear on me, pray and read the word, but I still go to therapy. No matter your past or what you've been through, this is a space, not judgmental. We got some things to get into. I got my mind in on my meds. No matter your past or what you've been through, this is a space, not judgmental. We got some things to get into. I got my mind in on my mental. Mind in my mental. Mind in my mental. Mind in my mental. Mind in my mental health. Mind in my mental. Mind in my mental. Mind in my mental health.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Minding My Mental Health. I am Tenitra Williams, your host for today, and I want to say thank you so much and welcome to everybody who is with us today. I am going to share this broadcast to a couple of people that we have available, and we're going to go ahead and get started. I think this is a very, very needed topic today. It's one that we don't talk about enough to me in the mental health community. And so I wanted to shed light on that and to really bring some insight about this topic. So if you are watching me and you've been here before, you'll know what I'm going to say. But if you're new and if you're old as well, if you will hashtag live, let me know where you're watching from. So hashtag live and then put your city or your state where you're watching from. I'd just like to know. Also, if you're watching from Facebook or YouTube, I would appreciate you letting me know where you're watching from as well. Again, if you are watching us live, let me know. I also want you to share this broadcast to your story, to your pages, to groups that you are a part of. And this is one of those topics that it really and truly affects all of us. This is one of those times where it's not just a certain population. This is for everybody, myself included. And so I'm really thankful for this opportunity to be able to share this, because again, I think this is one of these topics that we're going to need to hear. We're going to need to understand, because it does not get talked enough about, in my opinion, specifically in the mental health community. But I think in general. Hey, Venetia, how are you? Welcome. Please share, like the broadcast, tag your friends, tag your family, tag everybody, because we're going to get into something really, really important. And what are we talking about today? We are talking about our the connection between our nutrition and our mental health. So we are talking about this connection between our mental health and our nutrition. When we think about mental health, we often think about trauma. We hear people talk about boundaries, all of these types of things. But one of the things that we don't often hear is what fuels our body. Okay. So rarely do we ask, what if our brain just needs better fuel? The brain is not powered by emotions. It's powered by chemistry. I'm going to say that again. The brain is not powered by emotions. It's powered by chemistry. Every thought, however, produces chemicals. Emotions can produce chemicals in our bodies. And so it's really important that we are feeding and fueling our bodies the right way. So every thought, every prayer, every mood swing all requires neurotransmitters made from nutrients. So our neurotransmitters, and we've all probably heard what that is. This is things that helps us with our thinking and our cognitive abilities. These things are created by our nutrients. Say our nutrients are important. Put that in the comments. My nutrients are important. We can pray. We can do all of these things, but you cannot think your way out of or fast your way out of a chemical deficit. And sometimes people are not lazy. They're not unmotivated. They're actually malnutritioned at a cellular level. They're not getting the things that they need in order to function at a high level. Okay. So think about a charger, a phone charger. Okay, a phone charger that has frayed wires is able to possibly get you enough juice to your battery to keep it functioning, but it probably is not going to have your life going far, right? Or it's not going to be full. It's just going to kind of keep you very, very functioning. That's what happens with most of us with our diets. Our diets keep us functioning, but they do not cause us to be flourishing. And so again, today we're going to look at this, and some of it may not sound exciting. It may not sound glamorous, if you will, but this is one of those topics that I believe can actually be easily and practically implemented and can literally change or save lives. It can shift your mind or your mental state, right? All of these things can be helpful. So again, thank you guys for tagging people. Thank you for joining. Please continue to share, continue to tag, and all of those things. And if you have questions, put in there. You can put in the comments and I will be glad to answer if I can. And if I can't, I will find that answer for you. Okay. So again, with the example, imagine trying to charge your phone with a frayed cable. This is what happens when we eat foods that keep us alive, but not really functioning to our full potential. Our emotional battery is dying, and we blame personality, motivation, trauma, all of these things. And sometimes there is that biological component that we miss out on. I think in mental health, we have to be more aware of the biological, chemical, physical component that goes into our mental health, right? So let's talk about the gut-brain axis. For many years, they've been saying that the gut is the second brain. So let's talk about what that means. Again, I know it's going to get a little detailish, but if you guys will stick with me, I'm telling you, you're going to learn something and you have an opportunity to really shift. Your gut has its own nervous system. I don't know if you knew that, but your gut actually has its own nervous system, and it has over 100 million neurons. Wow. Your gut has its own nervous system. We don't often hear about that. I think it's called, oh man, I forgot it, but it's like a intrix. I forgot the name of the nervous system for the gut. But again, it has over 100 million neurons. It also produces, in this nervous system, it produces 90% of the serotonin from our body and 50% of the dopamine. Okay, I'm going to talk about what those two chemicals are because they're very critical when we're looking at our mental health. But the gut produces 90% of serotonin and 50% of dopamine. These two chemicals influence your anxiety levels, energy levels, your sleep quality. So again, we have to know that what we're feeding ourselves, especially if all of this is happening in our gut, is so important to our mental health. What is serotonin? So we said that 90% of serotonin is produced in our gut. Let's learn what serotonin is. Serotonin is often referred to as the feel-good neurotransmitter. It regulates emotions, promoting feelings of happiness, well-being, and contentment. Low serotonin levels are usually associated with depression and anxiety. This is actually one of the things that if you have depression medication, it's oftentimes something that is giving you more or keeping you or helping you to absorb serotonin levels higher in your system. Serotonin contributes to our sleep-wake cycle. It helps us regulate our sleep patterns. It helps control our appetite, gives signals when we're satisfied or when we're full. It helps to regulate so many things in our body. It helps to modulate our pain signals, so it can inhibit or enhance pain depending on the situation. Serotonin also influences our bone density. It's involved in our memory, our learning, our attention, our sexual arousal with orgasms. All of these things are impacted by your serotonin level. Serotonin plays a role in regulating your body temperature, your digestion, your hormone production. You often hear a lot of women talking about, my hormones are out of balance. The serotonin is a huge part of that. And so again, as you're hearing this, and again, I know this can get kind of a lot of details, but I want you to stay with me because I think this is so important. It's not just about going, oh, I need to eat something. We actually need to fuel our bodies the right things. So again, serotonin is super important. Dopamine we said 50% of dopamine is created in the gut. What does it do? It helps us to coordinate with our muscle movement, maintaining balance, helps regulate with our attention and our focus, decision making. It also help or modulates the release of other hormones. So again, what do we see? Dopamine plays a role in regulating emotions such as happiness, excitement, and motivation. So if you're feeling low motivation, low energy, you're tired all the time, you don't want to do anything, your serotonin and your dopamine levels are probably pretty low. If you go into a clinician's office and you start talking about these types of symptoms, if you have enough of these types of symptoms, they are going to diagnose you with depression. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that you don't feel depressed. I'm not saying that you don't have depression. What I am saying is sometimes we overlook this very important part of our body that says maybe I need to regulate my body so that I can produce more of the things that would actually help me to feel better. Okay. So that's really important to understand. The next thing we need to learn about the gut or the gut brain connection is the gut and the brain communicate through the vagus nerve. And you guys have heard me talk about the vagus nerve a lot when we talk about trauma. When the gut is inflamed, it interrupts the brain when the gut is inflamed, the brain interprets that as distress. So if you are not feeding your body and you have a lot of inflammation in your body, it feels like you are distressed. And so your brain interprets that as distress. And so your vagus nerve is saying, hey, we need to be anxious because there's a lot of stuff going on in our bodies. Okay. Harvard Medical School published this findings showing that the gut bacteria can influence the production of neurotransmitters. Okay. So I know I'm saying a lot of quote unquote big words sometimes, but it's really important basically that we understand the connection between depression, anxiety, even some of the what you consider more severe bipolar, schizophrenia. All of these things are also impacted by our diet. In 2023, there was a study that found that people with major depression had significant low levels of the good gut bacteria, significantly lower levels of the good gut bacteria. So story time, there was a 38-year-old marketing executive who had started to have daily panic attacks. I don't know if you've ever had a panic attack, but they can be pretty scary. In fact, people go to the hospital all the time with panic attacks because they believe they are actually having a heart attack. So panic attacks can feel very scary for people. But this lady had been having panic attacks every day. And she was prescribed anti-anxiety medication, of course, because the panic attack stems from anxiety. And she was having this, but it was not really affecting her. And then her psychiatrist referred her to get a nutrition panel. So basically, they checked her deficiencies in her vitamins and her minerals. And what happened was they found that her gut bacteria were severely imbalanced for years due to her stress level and antibiotics that she had been taking when she get infections here and there. After about 90 days of probiotics, fermented food, and reduced processed sugar, her anxiety scores dropped by 70%. That is huge. So if you are ever struggling with a lot of depression, anxiety, especially if you say, I don't even know what's going on because there's not anything specific that's stressing me out, there is a good chance that you need to go in and check and say, I need to run panels. I need to see where I am deficient in an area, or my hormones or my nutrition levels are low in an area, because sometimes we can spend thousands and thousands of dollars on something that we could actually get over the counter or even just in through our diet. Okay. Now, unfortunately, so much of the foods that we eat have been stripped of the nutrients. And so it's been processed so much that the nutrients have been missing. So we do have to be very mindful of how do I feed my body things that are going to be helpful. So from that section, I want you to think about this as your takeaway. If my gut is in chaos, my emotions will be too. Put that in the comments. If my gut is in chaos, my emotions will be too. An inflamed gut means an inflamed brain. That is, again, to me, so powerful that we start to understand and see the connection between that. There was a documentary called, I think it's called The Blue Zone, and it basically studies areas in the world, and they were all over the world, where people lived longer in these specific areas. None of them were the U.S., by the way. But in this documentary, they found that people had certain diets. They were more plant-based diets. They were, they were very communal kind of areas where people understood. And this was not something where it's like, oh, we're going to establish a blue zone. They studied the places where people lived upward 100 and higher years, or a large population of the people. And they start to see this connection between long life with the way that they were eating in their diets. Okay. So now I want to talk about how nutrient deficiencies can mimic mental health disorders. Nutrient deficiencies can mimic mental health disorders. Okay. So if you will even just put that in there, nutrient deficiencies can mimic mental health disorders. And so we're going to kind of get into this a little bit. Okay. So the first thing, and this is nowhere near a all-encompassing list, but these are some common things that I've researched and looked into that do seem to show up in a lot of counseling offices or a lot of mental health spaces, right? And so if you are hearing this, and if you've struggled, or you know people who do, guess what? There's a possibility that there is a deficiency in their vitamins or their nutrients. So let's look at the first one, vitamin D. Vitamin D deficiencies can show up and look like depression, fatigue, or brain fog. Other things as well, but these are three very common symptoms that you see when you have vitamin D deficiency. Vitamin D acts like a hormone, turning on genes that regulate, again, the serotonin and the dopamine. I just spent time talking about the serotonin and the dopamine. It's produced, now here, I want everybody to hear this. Vitamin D, we can get through a vitamin, we can get through some foods, but it's produced when the sunlight hits the skin. Okay. Why is that important? Because it's like taking in something, but it's not actually activated until that sun hits it. So we need sun. Now, you guys can look at me and clearly see that I am a Black woman. Black skin, or darker skin, I should say, often kind of serves as a buffer and can block out some of the sun's UV absorption. So it's not saying we can't absorb any of it, but we don't absorb as much because of our melanin, which is honestly a beautiful, powerful thing. But this is something that we have to just be aware of. It says up to 82% of African Americans have insufficient vitamin D levels. 82%. Okay, so we talked about the melanin. The melanin that gives our skin its color acts almost like a natural sunscreen. It's protective, but it reduces the DNA, and it reduces DNA damage and the risk of sun cancer. Should we still wear sunscreen as Black people? Yes. So I'm not telling us that our melanin is, and that has often actually been a misconception that we don't need it because we're Black in our skin. Yes, we still need that protection. But however, the same protection reduces the skin's ability to produce vitamin D from the sunlight as much as 50 to 90%. So this is not a bad thing. We just have to be aware of it so we know how to deal with it. That means that darker skin needs more sunlight exposure to produce the same amount of vitamin D that lighter skin may take less time to have activated. Okay, so it does not mean it's going to take forever. It doesn't mean that the sunlight doesn't help us. It means we may need it a little bit more. You will see what they call seasonal affective disorder start people around the end of fall sometimes, or sometimes even the beginning of fall. And they'll see it from fall through the wintertime and go, what's going on? Your vitamin D levels drop because we're not out in the sun as much. We're staying inside. We're cold. If you're like me, you don't like being in the cold. And so you're not having that vitamin D activated as much. And so one of the best ways to deal with that is getting vitamin D, taking it in, and also getting that sunlight exposure. Okay. So it says a light-skinned person might make adequate vitamin D with 10 to 15 minutes of midday sun exposure on the arms and legs a few times per week. A dark-skinned person may need 30 to 60 minutes or more, depending on where they live and the season. So again, This is not some dramatic, I have to go out and lay in the sun for hours and hours and hours. But this just says, hey, if it takes them 15 minutes, if you're darker, you may have to take just 15 extra minutes, right? It's worth it to get your vitamin D activated. Now, the sunlight doesn't make vitamin D, but it activates the vitamin D. So you have to make sure that you're getting enough vitamin D in and that you're actively getting sunlight as well. Sometimes when people are depressed, they want to do what? Go into their room, close the blinds, and be in a dark space. That is the opposite of what you need to be doing. You need to actually be they say there's a saying that says, put your face in the sun. You need to put your face in the sun. You need to actually be exposed to the sun. There was a pastor's wife in her late 40s that came in for therapy, not with me, but she was feeling low energy, tearful, and really just felt disinterested in a lot of things. And they assumed it was depression. This is from a study that was done, and her labs revealed that vitamin D was at about a 12, where it needed to be between 50 and 80 milliliters. So again, what happens? She starts to have these symptoms of depression, and it wasn't a lack of faith. It wasn't that she was a bad person. It wasn't any of those things. It was her body saying, I need more of that. Okay. Do you guys have any questions or comments so far? I feel like I'm doing a lot of talking, but I want to make sure that you guys are following me. Is this helping you? Is this helping you? And do you understand? So it says, after supplementation and moderate sunlight, her mood started to lift within 6 weeks. And again, she was saying she came back from, when she was talking about this feeling of, I thought I was losing my faith, but the reality was I just needed more vitamin D, right? It wasn't a lack of faith. So that's vitamin D. I want to talk about vitamin B deficiency. We also know that, especially when you get into vitamin B, there are a lot of different, there is B1, there's B6, B12, all of these different B vitamins. I'm just going to give kind of some overviews about what you need. Again, I encourage you to go, especially if you're feeling sluggish and you can't really explain what's going on in your body and your mind. Go get your levels checked. A lot of women, I am 45, so a lot of women my age, a little bit older, or they're dealing with perimenopausal symptoms, right? And so they're just going, I just feel off. This is a great time for us to say, yeah, especially as believers, to say, I don't have to live my life just feeling off. I also need to, now understanding that things are going to change and we're going to make adjustments, our bodies are adjusting. However, it is also important that we don't just take that lightly and just assume that everything is perimenopausal and this is normal, because some things that we accept, we don't actually have to tolerate. We can be more active in our health, mental and physical. So making sure that our levels are at a good place so that we are not struggling unnecessarily. Okay. So vitamin B deficiencies, they can show up and look like brain fog, irritability, or anxiety. Vitamin B6, B12, and folate are crucial for creating serotonin and dopamine. Again, you keep hearing these words. They were the first things we talked about at the beginning. If we need to be creating the serotonin, the feel good chemicals, the dopamine that helps us feel motivated, our bodies, when it becomes deficient of vitamin B, we're not effective at creating those two specific chemicals to help us with our mood regulation. Now, watch this. We can take in these things, but there are also things in our lives that deplete us of these vitamins and nutrients. Vitamin B is often depleted from chronic stress, overconsumption of caffeine. So if you are a coffee drinker, I'm not going to tell you not to drink coffee. I'm going to tell you to be mindful that you do not want to have an overconsumption of caffeine. Hormonal birth controls can deplete them, but many of us may go, I'm not on birth control. I'm not a coffee drinker. You have to be mindful of your stress levels. And many of us again, we take it as, oh, it's okay. No, stress can actually take away some of the nutrients that you need in order to be high functioning throughout your day. Okay. Low B12 causes an increase of anxiety, fatigue, and memory issues. A vitamin B1 deficiency can have some surprisingly deep effects on the body, brain, and other things. Because B1 is essential in converting food at the cellular energy level, it's especially important for our nervous system. So let's kind of break this down just a little bit. Again, we're talking about B1 right now, or we're talking about the B vitamins. I'm focusing now on B1. It helps convert your glucose into energy for the brain. It supports nerve conduction and memory, aids in muscle coordination and heart functioning. Now, all of us, we know that our bodies work together, but how many of you just go, I'm just going to grab a little cheap multivitamin and that's going to cover all my needs? No. Again, in America, because so much of our food is processed, we don't live the same way that many of our great grandparents lived, from things that we farmed or our neighbors farmed. We are not getting the nutrients in our everyday diet, unless you're super intentional. Many people are not getting the nutrients in their everyday diet to have enough of the things that we really need. Okay. So when it's low, your nervous system and your brain literally can run out of fuel. When your B1 is low, your brain and your nervous system can run out of fuel. Here are some early signs of B1 deficiency: constant tiredness, brain fog, low motivation, irritability or sudden mood swings, loss of appetite, mild nausea, tingling, burning, numbness in your hands or feet, rapid heartbeat, or shortness of breath with just a little exertion. People may have been told that they have anxiety or panic disorder, but their brain is simply craving and starving from needing B1. If you have any of those types of symptoms, let me know. Let me know what kind of symptoms you may be seeing in your day-to-day life. Okay. More severe effects of the B1 deficiency could have poor balance, weakness in your legs, nerve pain, short-term memory loss or confusion, heightened sensitivity to stress. It could even go into severe brain disorder, linking like what would actually, it links to long-term deficiency. If it has long-term deficiency, it can look like you have alcohol misabuse. So again, it's really, really important that we're paying attention to our vitamins. I'm going to read this really quick. B1, if you're deficient of B1, you're probably going to have fatigue, anxiety. If you're deficient of B6, you may have more irritability. If you're deficient of B12, panic or brain fog. And if you are deficient of folate, it may have some depression. So if you're hearing some of these things, it may be a great time for you to go and say, let me go check and get some B1 or some B6 or B12 or some folate. Why? Our brains, our bodies are craving these things, right? The next thing I'm going to talk about is deficiency in magnesium and how it can also show up as what seems to be some mental health things. It can look like anxiety, muscle tension, and problems sleeping. Magnesium, I take magnesium every evening, pretty much every evening. I take it through like orally. Sometimes I will spray magnesium on the bottom of my feet. Why? Because I would notice so oftentimes when I would get in the bed, my legs would feel, and I couldn't explain it. But it just, my legs, on the inside of my legs, it felt restless. And I was like, do I have restless leg syndrome? I started looking that up, and I started praying, and it said, hey, even if it is, I was like, I don't have that. But what is it? When I started looking it up, and it says you needed magnesium. And I was like, well, that's an easy fix. And so many times, like I said earlier, we're taking things as this is just a part of growing older. And we don't have to just say this is a part of growing older. Nowhere in the Word of God does it say when you get old, your body has to break down. We stand on a better covenant that as we're growing, we can grow stronger. But it does require that we use knowledge that is available to us. It does require that we take care of ourselves in maybe a different way than we have in the past. But what does magnesium do? It calms our nervous system and helps us to regulate cortisol. What is cortisol? It's the stress hormone. Too much cortisol, and if you watched my stuff in the past, too much cortisol can wreak havoc on your physical and emotional being, right? So again, magnesium helps to calm the nervous system and regulate the cortisol. Alcohol, caffeine, and stress can drain you from the magnesium. So we talked earlier about things that can actually drain you with these nutrients. So if you're drinking too much alcohol, you're taking away the thing that you're trying to relax with your alcohol, but it may actually be that you're depleting yourself of some things that you need in order to actually relax more naturally. Magnesium deficiency can make you feel wired but tired. Wired, like I'm up, I'm jittery, but I'm also tired. Restlessness at night, grogginess in the daytime. In fact, this is nearly 60% of adults do not meet their daily magnesium needs. Nearly 60%. Does anyone here, if you're on, let me know if you take supplements in any way. Just say, I take supplements or whatever. What are some things that you've taken that you have seen be beneficial for you? People will often come into counseling and I just can't calm down. I can't turn off. And your body is probably saying, hey, we need more magnesium in our nervous system. Okay. So iron deficiency can look like, again, brain fog, low mood, fatigue. What you're seeing some patterns here. If you're missing out on some of these things, go check your system. Go get a check for vitamins or nutrients. If you don't, even if you don't go and get everything checked, it would still be good if you don't take any vitamins to get on a good multivitamin, to get you some sunlight, especially during the winter months. Make sure you're going outside, getting 15, 20, 30 minutes of walking in, right? Good. You're taking vitamin D and vitamin B12. Oh, you haven't been taking them. Okay. So I would encourage you to get back on your regimen of taking your vitamins. And honestly, you probably need more than those two, but I'm no physical doctor that way. So, but if you're feeling tired, you're feeling drained a lot, you're feeling not motivated, get you a good multivitamin. And I'm not getting any payback from anybody, so I don't have one specific one to recommend, but I would say begin to see what's going on. Okay. So let's talk about iron deficiency. Again, we said fatigue, low mood, and brain fog. Iron is vital for the oxygen transport and the dopamine production. Iron is important for that dopamine. We think dopamine and we think, like having an exciting adventure and getting that dopamine hit. But in order for that to be produced, you actually need to have enough iron. Low iron can mimic depression, chronic tiredness, or even ADHD symptoms because it affects the focus of our brain. So again, we have to be mindful. A lot of children are often diagnosed with ADHD, but if you look at their diet, if you see they struggle with focus, their diet is very, very limited. Chicken nuggets and corn, or, macaroni and chicken nuggets or something like that, right? You're not going to get the vitamins, the nutrients that you need if your diet is that restricted. And so many children, picky eaters, or maybe it's just easier for the parents to, stop by and grab a burger or whatever. And this is no slight. This is just the fact of some of the things that we're seeing in the schools with the high rates of ADHD, diagnosis. And now I'm not by any means saying that ADHD is not true. I'm not saying that people don't actually have it. I'm saying there are some people dealing with the symptoms that may be actually mimicking that. Those symptoms may be something mimicking ADHD and not actually an ADHD diagnosis. There was a teen girl with heavy menstrual cycles, and here's just an example from one of the studies I was reading. And she was diagnosed with attention issues. After discovering her iron levels were low, her focus and energy improved dramatically when she started taking supplements. So again, we have to be real. When we start to see changes in our life, I challenge you not to just take that as normal. I'm not saying some things are not normal. I'm telling you, don't just accept everything as normal. Go, I've started to feel this. Why? Let me look into it. Use the technology that we have available to us. Ask questions. Talk to your doctors. Go, okay, I'm having this. What vitamin deficiency which would give me these symptoms? Let's look and see if I have that deficiency. All of those types of things. Okay. Iron deficiency is one of the most common nutrient deficiencies in the world. Okay. Angela, I'm glad this is encouraging. And I think I want people to be encouraged, because sometimes we are so quick to just go, oh, that's the way it is. Yes, things change when we get older. Yes, things shift as we age. However, we can do things to take care of our bodies so that we can live long and strong. Okay. Omega-3 deficiency. This is one that I actually, as I was kind of looking this stuff up, I was like, oh, that's one that I need to probably incorporate into my routine, because I don't typically do a lot of omega-3 supplements or anything, but I want to start incorporating that as I was reading through the information. And so I want to present that to you. It can show up, it can look at some depression if you're deficient, emotional dysregulation. You guys know that our brain is 60% fat, 60% fat, and omega-3s are its building blocks. Okay. So deficiency can cause irritability, impulsivity, and emotional volatility. Okay. Diets high in processed fats create inflammation that blocks the transmitters. So now you may be going, but wait, you just told me that our brain is 60% made of fat. Yes, but there's a difference between, listen, all fat is not good. Okay. And all fat is not bad. Okay. So there is such a thing as good fats, things you can get from avocados and things like that. There is the bad fat that can come when we are eating things that are not healthy. The certain oils that we're eating that are not the vegetable oils and all of that kind of stuff. This is not good fat. Okay. Harvard School of Public Health found that omega-3 supplementation can reduce depression symptoms by up to 50% in some patients. 50% is huge. And you go, oh, I needed some supplements. So again, I am not saying that we don't need to deal with the trauma. I am not saying that we don't need to learn to set boundaries. I'm not saying that we don't need to pray and believe and have faith. I am saying, in addition to these things, we need to be mindful of what we are putting into our bodies. We need to be mindful of what we're not putting into our bodies. If you eat, I know for our house, we eat the same things for the most part, right? We do take supplements and vitamins and all of that because we understand. But most people's diets are pretty consistent. They eat the same things, right? Now, I'm not saying like meal prep, same thing every day. I'm saying you have a rotation of things that you eat. You have about 2 or 3 vegetables you may eat, 2 or 3 fruit that you may eat, 2 or 3 meats that you may eat. And you rotate those things as your meals, right? But if that's all you're eating, you're probably not getting your nutrients the way you need to. Okay. So you may have to get supplements or begin to open yourself up to try new and various foods. That's also important to go, hey, I always eat pasta, but I may need to increase my vegetables and my fruit intake or my meat intake. Or if I'm plant-based, I need to increase this so that even though I'm not eating meat, I need to get this supplement from somewhere, right? So if you have anything in your diet and you say, I don't eat that thing, like if you are a person who says, I don't eat meat, that is not a bad thing. In fact, like we said earlier, in those blue zones, many of those people that lived really long lived in blue zones, and those blue zones, typically people had a plant-based diet. So we're not saying you have to eat meat, but you cannot say I'm not going to eat meat and not find the supplements that are found in meat or the nutrients that are found in meat. You have to find a way to get these things for your body as well. Trauma and chronic stress push the body into survival mode, which causes it to divert resources from digestion to defense. Whoa. So again, I'm not saying we don't deal with our trauma. I'm not saying we don't deal with all of these things. We have active things like trauma that will keep our amygdala so hijacked that we feel like we're using all of our energy from survival mode rather than helping us to have high healthy digestion. You'll actually find often people with trauma or hijacked amygdalas will have IBS or digestion issues. Again, we talked about that brain gut connection, right? All of it is connected, and we want to be whole as much as possible. Uh, so cortisol depletes magnesium and zinc and interferes with stomach acid production. This is why trauma survivors often struggle with IBS, fatigue, or chronic inflammation. So you want to deal with, if I've dealt with a lot of trauma in my life, I may need to be even more conscientious of what I'm feeding my body. Okay. So it is important to get a stress release routine so that your body can absorb the nutrients. Okay. So if you have a stressful job, if you have a stressful lifestyle for whatever reason, you need to have a stress release routine. What does that mean? What causes you to be able to be relaxed or relax your body? Is that getting a massage? Is that working out? Is that prayer and meditation? All of these types of things are stress release, are needed, right, to create your stress release routine. How many of you have a stress release routine? Meaning you have certain go-to things to help you when you feel stressed. So again, for me, I'm typically going to go with um, laughter. I'm going to go with stretching, prayer, and talking. Those are kind of my things that if I'm feeling stressed, I'm going to talk with someone. I'm going to pray about it. I'm going to I'm going to stretch, and then I'm going to find something funny that I can laugh at, because that also releases a different chemical to help balance out the mood, right? So, how many of you have a stress release routine or coping strategies that you're able to use at the end of your day every day? My coach calls it dumping your day. What do you do to dump your day when your brain and your body has been carrying that stress all day? You need to have something that can help you. Now, so I talked a lot about what these deficiencies or how these deficiencies can show up. But let's talk about how to implement some things that can help with healing. Okay. So it says healing starts from the inside out. Writing is really good, Venetia. So I'm going to give you 6 things to help you to heal in these areas. Number 1, don't just start guessing. Don't just, oh, I believe I must have vitamin B deficiency because I'm tired. Well, there were several of these deficiencies that show that it could have some exhaustion. Don't just assume that it's vitamin B and start taking a lot of vitamin B without actually getting some real clarity of like, oh, okay, maybe I need to get some blood work. And they can tell me, oh, it's vitamin B12, not B1. You're good in B1, but you're lacking in B12 or vice versa or whatever. So you can target your treatment, if you will, but you can target your routine and your regimen specific for what your body needs. Okay. So go and get a test. This is one that I don't think we do enough. Eat more colors. If you look at your plate, how colorful is your plate? If you have a piece of fried chicken, you got kind of this tan, or just chicken, you got this tan. Then you got macaroni, which is a yellowish, kind of bland, pasta bland. You may not have, you have corn, got a little, again, more yellow, and some cornbread. Your plate doesn't have a lot of diversity with colors. You've got mostly yellow and tan, right? So when you're looking at it, you want to go, I need to add some color. Where are my green vegetables? I need to have some green. Where my orange fruit? Where are my orange vegetables? Where's the purple? When's the last time you ate something purple? I know that sounds like a random question, but when is the last time you ate something purple? Most of us go, I don't even know if I eat anything purple unless it's some kind of dyed candy. Why? It's important that we try to eat different colors, because each color adds a different nutrient or antioxidant in many cases. So you should look at your plates and you want to have reds and yellows and orange and green and purple, all these different colors, right? Why? Because this is going to give us a diversity of nutrients. It's going to help us have a diversity of nutrients. Okay. So eat colors, eat your colors. Okay. The other thing is work on your gut health. Work on your gut health. You may need to add pre or probiotics. This is to help us to get our gut in a good, healthy space, help us to have good digestion. Okay, Venetia said she did get some blood work done and she was low on vitamin D and iron. Very good. Knowing that is the first step. Now you need to, you can take those supplements, but also begin to, like we just said, eat more colors, diversify your plate, repair your gut. Having your probiotics and your prebiotics really can help. This is one that I tell people all the time: hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. Brain fog often clears up with consistent water intake. My family, I grew up in a family of water drinkers. Okay. So it was nothing for them to carry around a big, huge cup of water and they were drinking it all day. Give me that water. Now it was going to be ice cold, which, people have learned that ice cold water may not be the best water. But again, we were going to drink water. So I never had an issue with drinking water. But I see so many people who say, I don't drink water. And I'm telling you, your body needs water to function. If you're having brain fog and you go, I don't drink enough water, that's what's going on. Dehydration can mimic anxiety. So again, water helps us. Water also helps just to get us to help flush out things from our system. So make sure that you are staying hydrated. This is going to help you heal. Okay. So the first thing was test, don't guess. Test, don't guess. Don't just start guessing. I think I need this vitamin. Get yourself tested and start to learn. Number 2, eat the colors. Eat more colors. If your plate looks bland and the same colors every day, get you some different colors in there. Add green and yellow and purple and red, orange. Add those things to your diet. It's going to be a game changer. Blue, get you some blueberries. I know Chandra was on here earlier. I don't know if she's still on here, and she was talking about she didn't like blueberries. Chandra may have to throw a couple blueberries in a smoothie or something where she doesn't taste it as much, but make sure you're getting those colors in there. Number 3, repair your gut with pre and probiotics. 4, hydrate. Now, number 5 says supplement wisely. Why do I say wisely? You're not just randomly grabbing something off the shelf, but to say, like, what am I experiencing? What does this supplement help with? Oh, okay. Well, I need something that addresses this specific thing that I'm experiencing. Work with your provider if you need. Not all vitamins are created equal, and that is the truth. There are some vitamins that are made with a lot of synthetic material. There are some vitamins that once you take them in, they're not easily absorbed because of different reasons. And so you kind of just flush them out when you go to the restroom. So you want to make sure that you are getting quality vitamins. Quality does not always equate to price. So you can get an expensive vitamin and it's not necessarily a greater quality. You want to actually do some review. Technology has made it really easy for us to go in and use AI, use Google, whatever, to say, okay, I'm looking at this. What is the quality of this type of vitamin? And you will get some information. Don't go blindly down the nutrient aisle or the supplement aisle and just start picking up stuff. Okay. Tracy says, my psychiatrist told me to drink plenty of water every day to help reduce anxiety. Yes, because dehydration mimics anxiety. And most people don't recognize that. For me, I recognize that if I have not drank enough water, I am way more irritable in the afternoon. If I don't get enough water throughout my day, I'm like, oh, everything's annoying. And then I go, oh, wait, you only drank 2 cups of water, or you only drank your water bottle full of water one time today. Go get you some water and chill out. And most of the time, getting hydrated, you can literally feel life or normalcy coming back into yourself. Okay. So number 5 was supplement wisely. And number 6, feed your faith. Okay. So we talked about all of these supplements and all of these things that help us with our nutrition, but also we have to feed our faith. What does that mean? Having gratitude, connecting with prayer. Gratitude is huge when we're talking about feeding our faith, because prayer and gratitude are actually connected to lower cortisol levels. What is cortisol? We said it earlier. It's your stress hormone. Um, so and it raises gratitude raises the oxytocin, which is the love chemical or the love hormone. So you want to feed these things that actually are going to help you. How do you feed it? By having an attitude of gratitude that helps your body to regulate. Prayer helps your body to regulate on a physical level. It's not just spiritual, it is spiritual. And at our church, we say, we believe something supernatural happens when we pray, right? But actually, something physical can happen when we pray. It can actually help us to calm our bodies. Okay. Your brain is a garden. Therapy and prayer are like the sunlight, but your nutrition is the soil. I'm going to say that again. Your brain is like a garden. Therapy and prayer are like the sunlight, but your nutrition is the soil. You cannot grow peace in depleted soil. I heard this pastor talking, and this was probably 11 years ago, probably. And he told the story about when God gave instruction about the fields. And he would say, every 7 years, leave these fields, burn something, and don't plant in this field this year. Let the soil replenish. Well, what happened? Not just American, I will say the world. People got so focused on making money. They stopped letting that land get the rest that it needed so that those nutrients in the soil could be replenished. So many times, even if we are eating plants and vegetables, it's coming and it's growing from soil that doesn't give it the nutrients that it once had, probably 70, 80 years ago, right? And so when we start to look and we go, okay, if the soil is if they're depleting the nutrients from the soil, that's got to affect the food that's coming. So that's why I say just our American diet, we're probably not going to get just with food alone the nutrients that we need. So we want to make sure that we are using supplements in a wise way. We want to make sure that we are diversifying what we do eat, and trying to be really cautious with or mindful about what we are allowing in our bodies and what we allow into our space so that it's not depleting us from the nutrients that we are taking in. Okay. Your mind is hungry for wholeness. Your brain is not betraying you, it's communicating to you. Say that in the comments. My brain is not betraying me, it's communicating with me. If you're feeling fatigued, irritable, or sad, these are not just about having more faith or being moral people. They may be nutritional signals that you are deficient in areas. Take time to pay attention. Okay. So again, your mental health is not just emotional, it's biological, it's spiritual, it's nutritional. And that's the piece that I think we keep forgetting oftentimes. You can't just go, we're just going to deal with their thinking. Well, if their thinking is affected by their nutrition, we need to deal with the nutrition as well. So when you feed your body well, you're not dieting. You're disciplining your mind towards peace. If you want a nutritious, if you want to have a more peaceful life, you have to have a nutritious balance. Okay. If you want, I'm not going to read all of this, but I have a nutrient reference guide that can help you to say, okay, if I'm feeling this, I may need more vitamin D because it helps with this. If you want that nutritional reference guide, shoot me an inbox with your email address and I will email it. I will add you to my email list and I will email you this nutritional guide. So again, if you want this nutritional guide, inbox me your name, your email address, and I will do that. Now, what you say, what is that guide? It's free. It's just like, again, a quick reference check. But for example, it says if you're feeling anxious or tense, you can't relax, magnesium may be needed. It calms the nervous system and balances cortisol. If you're feeling tired but wired and poor sleep, you may need magnesium plus B6. This is needed for melatonin and GABA production. So again, this is just a quick reference to help you to say, oh, maybe I'm needing more of this. And I'm telling you, the magnesium for me has been so beneficial. I didn't take it for like 2 or 3 nights and I was like, oh, I didn't sleep as well. Oh, I've been missing my magnesium. Let me quit tripping, make sure I get my magnesium. I'm back taking my magnesium every night. And so there will be times when you forget things. Don't let that become your norm. Try to keep your supplements on a routine basis, and see how your body changes. If you say, hey, I'm going to do this, I'm going to go and I'm going to get tested, or I'm going to check some things. I'm going to eat my colors, repair my gut, and stay hydrated, supplement wisely, and feed my faith. Put a 1 in the comment. If you are ready to start shifting your nutrients, again, I think it's really important. Let us know. Put a 1 in the comment if you say, I'm ready to start being more mindful about how I feed my spirit, how I feed my body, how I feed my mind. Okay. That's all I have. Again, don't forget, if you want that nutritional reference guide, shoot me an email or shoot me an inbox with your email address, and I will add you to the email list so that we can get that. Also, I know a couple of you watch the broadcast pretty regularly. If you've been on a routine or something after a month, come back and let me know how things have changed and what has helped. Because again, there's no reason for us to keep struggling when there are simple solutions available. When there are simple solutions available. And I gave several examples of people who were struggling with things, who once they realized what was going on, they went, oh, I just needed this. What kind of magnesium would you recommend? I take, I don't want to get up and go get it, but it's magnesium glycerate I don't know. I tell you what, Venetia, I can send you that information, but it starts with a G, the last part of the magnesium. But again, if you've tested, you may just go, well, let me see which kind. You can use AI if you need and show kind of what your symptoms are. Magnesium is supposed to help. Which form of magnesium would be best for me? I would enter that, because it's based for you. And that's what I did. I looked and I said, okay, magnesium, there are different things or forms of this magnesium. What do I need? And that's the one that it recommended for me. Any more questions or comments? Glycinate, is that it? Okay. I was like, it's glass or something. I wasn't sure. Glycinate. Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Tracy. Yeah. Thank you all for having my back, because I was like, I see it every night, but I wasn't real sure, but I knew it was glass or something. So again, I appreciate you guys for joining. Tag somebody. If you know somebody who's walking around talking about they're feeling groggy and they're tired and they're cranky and they don't know what's going on, tag them in this broadcast. I know we're finishing the live, but they can watch the replay. The information is going to be the same. So I want people to get this information, because I don't want us to struggle unnecessarily, and I want us to flourish as much as possible. So again, thank you so much for joining me today. As always, if you are in need of some counseling, you can reach out to me at tenitria@gmail.com for coaching, for counseling. You can also give me a call at my office. It's 470-410-9790. Again, that's 470-410-9790. And I'm always promoting Celebrating You, which is a daily email affirmation service. You get directly to your inbox every day. These affirmations are encouraging. They are mindset shifting. They are really powerful ways to start your morning. So if you have not signed up for the Celebrating You daily affirmations, it is only $1.99 a month. But it is a great way to reset and start your mind. It actually may be a great thing when we talked about that stress release routine. It may be a great way for you to actually incorporate throughout your stress release routine as well. So again, if you have not registered for that, you can, the link is there. You also can just go to tenitria.com and you can find it in the product store, where you can sign up for the Celebrating You. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. And I will see you back here next Thursday for another episode of Minding My Mental Health. Also, if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do me a huge favor. Go over and subscribe, because I'm going to be creating new material or new content over on YouTube that I won't be doing in the Minding My Mental Health segments. And so you want to go over there and see what we'll be doing in the very near future. So if you have not subscribed to YouTube, I'd appreciate it if you go over there and follow, subscribe, and all of that wonderful stuff. Thank you guys, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Breaking misconceptions, fallacies, enigmas, building up the people, tearing down stigmas, clothed with a purpose. When life tries to wear on me, pray and read the word, but I still go to therapy. No matter your past or what you've been through, this is a space, not judgmental. We got some things to get into. I got my mind in on my meds. No matter your past or what you've been through, this is a space, not judgmental. We got some things to get into. I got my mind in on my mental. Mind in my mental.